myself?
Are you gonna mute? No muting. No muting. How's your work from home setup?
All right, just like it's fine.
All right, we're on.
Are we live right now?
We're live.
Great. This will be a good therapy session today because it's been a crazy day.
Hit it, Chris.
I'll hit the music. Stop talking. This is an absolute banging hit for our guest today, Katie. I mean, let me crank it up a little higher.
Yes.
Ow. I guarantee I'm gonna like this ride. Just feel it. Let everybody feel that.
Wow.
We had to change it up a little bit this week.
It's like a walkout song. Honestly, just really feeling that. Thanks for selecting that, Zach.
No problems.
Oh.
Minute back.
It's actually not a show today. It's just like music.
I don't blame you for dancing, Chris. Like I said, it's a certified bop. That's exactly what it is.
Oh, all right. Hi, Zach. We've got Zak Davis with us today. Zach is an assistant coach for GW University Women's Soccer, and we are so lucky to have him as an academy coach and a goalkeeper coach at ASA. Welcome to week 3, show number 3, everything, 3rd, quarantine, 3.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm just making sure I stay socially distancing, and I'm isolated in my place, not going out unless for the essentials. So a little healthcare plug right there. Just trying to make sure I'm doing all the right things to make sure that we try to, as they quote unquote say, flatten the curve and everything. But I mean, besides that, just trying to stay positive with everything, stay active as much as I can. Trying to do some, personal development, get some downtime myself. So yeah, I'm doing okay. I just, I think it's an unprecedented time for everybody. Just trying to do the best of what we got right now.
Let me ask you this before we dive in to some of your background. If you were not self-isolating right now, it's April 2nd, where you're in the middle of perhaps recruiting season. What would you be doing on a general Thursday in the spring?
General Thursday. So we would probably just be getting prepared for one of our last spring games this weekend. Yeah. Pretty crazy that, so many things have changed right now. But this Thursday we'd be getting out onto the field. Actually, we'd be on the field right now preparing for a little practice, getting ready for that last spring game, which would have been this weekend, I think, on Sunday against Georgetown, I believe. So would have been pretty exciting, but unfortunately with everything going on, this is what, we got going on,
Just on that real quick, I've been hearing that the NCAA is moving towards like a full year season or full year schedule. I mean, is there any news on that or any updates?
Yeah, they have talked about the new play model. I think it's really taken off on the men's side more so than the women's side. I'm not 100% sure on that, so I don't know. I won't like say too many wrong things when it comes to that, but I know, especially on the men's side, they are looking a little bit closer to going to a full year model, which would be honestly crazy, game changing, so different for everything. So I'm not sure what the deal is exactly. I know there's a lot of voting going on for it right now, and I think a lot of coaches are in favor of going to that year long model. But and I think within the next couple of years, you for sure will be able to, you might be seeing some difference in schedules, especially in college soccer.
That would be wild. That'd be really interesting,
It'd
actually.
be really crazy, and I don't know if it's going to be through all divisions, just Division One. I know a lot of talk's been just for Division One, especially, but it should be super interesting to see what happens with that and if it does come to fruition. But I would continue to just kind of pay attention to that for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, before you were a college coach and a fabled ASA coach, tell us about your playing career. When did you start playing soccer? Where did you play growing up?
So originally I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. Shout out the DMV.
Whoop,
Also
whoop.
want to shout out all my ASA teams, 06 White, 02 and 03 Red.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop.
Grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. Went to a high school up there called Boys Latin. I don't know. I think it was one of those things where you just played soccer from a young age, really young. From the very beginning, I was a goalkeeper for the most part. I just remember I was telling someone the other day, I was that one kid at what's it called? The rec leagues, like U6 maybe. I was like that one kid who wanted to slide tackle everybody. So I was the kid all the coaches are like, we need you to stay up on your feet, or like parents are like, okay, can we get this kid to calm down? But that was always me. So
you were that kid.
I was that kid. So probably give you a little insight to who I was as a little bit of a player, just getting stuck in, But grew up in Baltimore, started playing at a young age, played lots of sports growing up. Actually, it wasn't just soccer for me. I mean, I worked my mom to death. I feel like I had her running around, drop me off at hockey, soccer, baseball. Growing up, I also played basketball a little bit. Multi-sports when I was growing up, I think it's super important for everyone to be doing that. I think it was awesome. I always preach for multiple sports when it comes to, people talking about that. But that's such a different avenue we're getting into. But
is that ice hockey or?
Yeah, I played ice hockey growing up. I learned how to skate when I was like 6 or 7.
Wow.
And then I started playing hockey probably in like lower school, probably like 3rd grade maybe, until like early high school. So I mean, I played majority of my life as well growing up, ice hockey, soccer.
Were you a goalie in hockey as well?
I was a goalie in hockey as well. So I played in the net for majority of the sports. That included goalkeeper that I could, and then in baseball I was like a catcher. So it's like, I guess, in first base. So I guess that's like closest thing you're gonna get to like a goalkeeper. So yeah, I mean, I always had that kind of that connection to the netminder and stuff like that. And then but growing up, played soccer at a pretty high level in high school. I played for Soccer Association of Columbia. A lot of people probably know it as SAC. Growing up, my coach was Tommy Park, actually.
Who?
Tommy was my coach. He was the one who got me on the scene a bit for my first.
Wow.
This guy.
No, so that's like my connection to ASA and everything. When I first moved back to the area, I hit up Tommy. I was like, hey man, like, want to get into club coaching? He was like, yeah, let's make it happen here at ASA. So that's super grateful for him and everything he's done for me. I've known Tommy when he was coaching at DeMatha and before everything he's doing now. So it's pretty cool.
Gotta interrupt you here, because here's the thing. Tommy, doesn't coach a team right now because he's quite busy managing the club. So not a lot of people currently around the area, kids specifically, have ever experienced a coach Tommy. So give us a little insight into, what he was like as a coach.
Tommy knew what he was talking about. Just one, right?
Just punt it.
We had a good team. I mean, we had a handful of D1 players. I think majority of my whole team played college soccer when I was a sophomore and junior in high school. And Tommy was a good coach. I mean, he was a big motivator, I would say. Big motivator. Really knew how to get it into us to like make us motivated to play and like compete. I think that was a really big thing for him. I think Tommy's like mentality is about competition and competing.
Nice.
And I think that kind of, bled into us a little bit. So I think as a group, we love to play for him just because he could connect to us and really get us to compete. And that was like a super important part, especially, I think at the high school age for anybody, being able to connect to those players and be able to make them compete and really like play for somebody is, something that he did well for us. So No, I think it was awesome playing for Tommy. He pushed us for sure. I mean, there were some Wednesday night trainings I'll like never forget of him just like running us, which was fine, but
you know, run that mile test, I think, or something like that.
He did something like, I don't know. It was just like the next thing you know, he was like on the line, and we're just running laps around the field, and I was like, "Is practice over yet?"
Especially as a goalkeeper, right?
Like, oh man, I was like, "Tommy, let me go train or something," you know. He's like, "No, you're running around the field." I just like, have you ever played up at SAC? They have the field at Covenant Park. So like, I don't know if some people played up there, but like, yeah, Covenant Park, they had like a ton of fields over there, and you were just running like, oh man, I'll never forget it. That was awesome. And then he had some pretty like renowned like summer trainings over in College Park. So like, he'd be like, all right, summer trainings, if you guys want to come out. And a bunch of us and the boys would go out, and that was just like, again, like tough fitness, but it was good. Got a lot of technical work as well, and he pushed us. He was awesome. It was really good playing for Tommy for sure. So I'll never forget that. But then after SAC, I went to the academy. So I played for the Baltimore Bays Academy, which is basically, I guess, the best thing. It kind of went away, but now it's like Baltimore Armor, which is now. So I played for the Baltimore Bays growing up in academy. So that was like my youth kind of soccer experience right there. And
yeah.
Obviously, yeah.
Just a side question, Katie, if you don't mind,
Please.
But Zach, in terms of it sounded like a pretty tight knit group there, which you were talking about at SAC. I mean, do you still talk to a lot of your teammates or former teammates? Do you guys
every once in a while? I talk to a couple of them. Like when I came back to the area, I played actually in the futsal league with one of the guys I played with growing up. So I mean, and then one of the guys who I played with, every once in a while I'll see him on the road. He's actually a college coach, so I've seen him at different events. When we both were coaching on the men's side and stuff, which is pretty cool. But no, I mean, I think we were super close. In high school for the most part, a lot of those guys went to school together. I was a little bit different. I was like an outsider because I came from Baltimore. So, but those guys were always super good to me, and brought me in as well. And and then I knew a couple of them. Definitely just have some conversations down the road though. So yeah, when we were I would say for the most part, the team as a whole was a pretty close group.
So after high school and club, where did you end up going to college, and what was your recruiting process like? Last week we kind of talked a little bit about everyone's processes. So where'd you end up, and how'd you get there?
For me, the way my college process went, I originally went to Colgate University, which is a liberal arts school up in upstate New York. Division I. It's in the Patriot League Conference, so other schools matter like Bucknell, Lehigh, Lafayette. Now it's BU, as in Boston University. Holy Cross is in there. Army, Navy are both in there as well. So it's a pretty competitive conference when it comes to athletics. But I went to Colgate, and then I actually transferred from Colgate. I went to UNC Asheville, and then and then the Big South Conference, another Division I school in Asheville, North Carolina. In that conference, there's High Point, Radford, Longwood. There is just blanking on my top of my head. Winthrop, Campbell University, a bunch of Southern schools in that area. Hence the Big South. Gardner Webb's in there as well. So it's another pretty strong athletic conference as well. Unfortunately, I did transfer just because there's 5 goalies at Colgate, and not to say that I don't think I could have maybe stuck it out and done it, but I did want to maybe play a little bit, and then also to be honest, I mean it's a very very good school, but financially it's a lot as well when it comes to that. So just had to make a decision that I thought was best for myself when it came to the playing career, and then also for my future when it came to financially and stuff. So that's something that kind of thought about as well.
That's a pretty serious and difficult decision to make. I mean, especially as a young college kid. I mean, who helped you along with that process? I mean, was your coach involved with that process? Did your parents kind of help you along to make a decision to transfer?
Yeah, I think originally, I loved Colgate, to be honest with you, when it came to just like the school, and then also being able to play soccer there. I think the team was wonderful. Like we won the Pat League my first year there, which was awesome. Being a part of that and being able to even just experience that, even though I didn't play that much then. but the transfer process is tough. I think when I got back from Thanksgiving, I think it was, I had my mom and I just had a really frank conversation, and it was just like, I think we might need to make a change. And I spoke about the pros and cons of my thoughts, and she talked about her things as well. So I think that's super important, in the whole college process, that you have to be able to sit down and like have these conversations with your parents and with your family, and you also got to talk to your coaches as well. And I spoke to some coaches back home. I had like a goalkeeper coach who was helping me at the time, talked to him about potentially transferring, and he helped me a little bit in that process. So that's kind of how the transferring process went. But I mean, Katie, to go back to your original question of like my process in high school, I mean, I think joining a team such as SAC was really important for me, just because at that time we played in like Region 1. We played at a very high level of the USYS, and we made some big steps when it came to like making nationals, making regionals, and stuff like that. So things like that, just being a part of that really helps get your name out there. Just being able to kind of let yourself get into like bigger tournaments such as Jeff Cup, and I think Jeff Cup was where Colgate might have saw me.
That's
think
what
actually
I was gonna ask.
originally.
Yeah.
So that was like a big one for me.
Yeah.
And then once that happened, I had some ground kind of going with Colgate. I went to their ID clinic up in at their school. I was there for probably like I think it was like 4 days, and just performed really well up there, to be honest with you. And then after that, that's when they were like, all right, we'd like to give you this they gave me their offer or whatever it was to join the team and be a part of it and everything. That's when I was like, yeah, it's a no-brainer for me. So that's how that kind of happened in that terms of everything. I mean, but the college process is definitely a little bit daunting at times. I mean, you're emailing tons of coaches, you're trying to get to camps. But I think for me, I just got like really specific on what I wanted, and I knew I wanted a school such as like a Colgate or of that nature. So, and then it's a little bit different. Like the transfer process is like, you're trying to get your name out there again too. You're trying to use your references for coaches, and you're using different people you played with. I think it helped a little bit that I played in an academy as well, and for the Bays and whatnot. And so people probably they recognize that as well, which is important. And then they got having good references and things like that helps as well. So I think that was pretty important for me in the transfer process, and being able to kind of connect coaches and being like, here's my reference. And that's kind of how I got into UNC Asheville. One of my goalkeeper coaches knew the head coach at the time at Asheville, and that helped me a lot, getting down there. So yeah, I mean, that was kind of my process in college. I mean, I have no regrets about it, to be honest with you. And I think that's the biggest part about it. If I had regrets sitting here and telling you guys, then I must have did something wrong, and can't really get back those 5 years. But no, I have no regrets, and I enjoyed my college experience, and I think it was good.
So how did you make the transition to coaching? Because I love that you have all this insight from the player side, and now you're literally on the other side, getting those emails from kids, right?
Yeah,
going to Jeff Cup and watching. Right. So how'd you get?
Yeah, it's super cool going to Jeff Cup, and I was like, I actually remember coming down here with like Tommy, for example. Like we played a Texas team, and it was the Castle Showcase. I remember going to Castle when it was before NCFC, and then I was like, I played on this field at like 8 a.m. on that Friday. I remember it, and it was like snowing. We played some Texas team. It was awesome. But so things like that is really cool. But anyway, yeah, I know. I think the transition to becoming a coach is like, it's awesome being on the other side of it. I think it's super rewarding. I mean, originally I don't even think I wanted to be a coach. Actually, it just like kind of happened, and
right. So how did it happen though? Like, who asked you, like, do you want to coach with me? Or like, how do you?
I think, what was it? My junior year of college, I was like full on track to go to physical therapy school. I was like,
okay,
I was just dropping nuggets.
Yeah. So I had all my biologies completed. I had like my physics completed, my chems. I needed like one more chem, one more physics to like, and I needed to take my GRE. I think like my senior year.
Yep.
I was like fully committed to going to PT school, and like that was like my dream for forever. Huh. And then like I don't know what happened. The junior year hit me, and I remember finishing spring junior year. And before this, though, I mean, I was working with like the local YMCA in college. I worked with the local club there as well, just doing like stuff to. Well, I mean, as a college kid, you need to make money, so like I'm doing stuff to make money on the side. It's like coaching youth teams, coaching rec teams, coaching things like that.
Yeah.
And, it was fun. But I think like by the end of my junior year, I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And so like I like changed my whole senior year schedule, didn't go the PT route, and like I told one of my buddies who I played with, who was actually a coach was one of our assistant coaches at the time. I was like, I want to get into coaching, and he was like, all right, well, let's figure out how we can help you do that. And then, but I really focused on just crushing my senior year first, and then once that was kind of finished, I was like, all right, what do I need to do to get in the college route? And then my coach who came at that time, he was like, look, we'll make a GA position for you.
Wow.
So that's kind of how that started. So I stayed at Asheville for another 2 years to get my graduate degree. And then, so I was also coaching men and women's soccer. So I was doing goalkeepers for both of them. And that's just kind of how it all started. And I would do camps in the summer. I would do camps whenever I had, and I would coach locally club, the local club organization there in Asheville as well. So I was just trying to do as much as I could to get into the coaching realm, and that's just kind of how it all started, in Asheville for me.
And Asheville's a great place too.
Yeah, no, Asheville's an awesome town. I mean, yes. I love to go back and visit, meet up with the guys there, and do stuff down there. It's an awesome town.
Yeah, I just, in terms of, that's kind of your college experience. I mean, I just want to make a mention of on the youth side of things. You made a comment earlier about when you were a youth player and particularly playing under Tommy, but, kind of this idea of where he had an ability to motivate and connect with players. I mean, just from my end, I've been able to join you on the sidelines a couple of times with your younger girls teams. And I've always noticed that that's a cool trait that I've seen you implement as a coach for youth, in terms of you have this ability to connect with them on a personal level and make the game fun, but also challenge them, right? And to help them become better players. I mean, is that something that you see in yourself as a coach, in terms of a quality as a coach that you want to give on to your younger players?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. It means a lot coming from you and everything. For me, I think the biggest thing is like, I think the biggest thing for me, like growing up, is like I remember connections with coaches. I couldn't tell you like a talking point that Tommy gave us to halftime, or like I might remember like one of my coaches who like chewed us out and like yelled at us. But at the end of the day, like I'm looking back on it and I'm like, he's not wrong, But like I remember those connections, and I think that's a huge part of like youth sports, is having that connection to the athletes and being able to like, let them know that like, we're not just here to come out and like throw a ball out for you guys to kick in between. Like we're actually here to help you become better soccer players. And I think, a huge part of it is just become better people too.
Yeah.
I had a really frank conversation with my 06 girls right before all the COVID stuff, to be honest with you. And it was just about accountability. And nice. I was like, they won the ASA tournament and they were super pumped on like a super, super high. And like we came to practice, and practice wasn't good enough anymore. And I was like, guys, like just because you won one thing doesn't mean you can't like come back down here, right? Like you have to be able to stay up there and be able to perform. And so we had a really frank convo with each other, just about like holding each other accountable. But I think, my hope is like having those conversations. It might seem like it's just going through their head because they're 7th or 8th graders, but at the same time, being in 7th, 8th grade, I do remember, at least coaches trying to be there for you and like trying to help. So yeah, I mean, I think the motivation part and being there for the athletes, and these youth players and even our student athletes at GW is like, it's super important, that connection part. Because if you feel connected to a coach and you want to be able to play with them or play for them or, perform, then you're probably, I'm sure there's going to be, scientific evidence that you're going to perform better on a field.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So I think that motivation part, and that doesn't mean I'm like yelling at the kids on the sideline or anything like that. I'm a very energetic person for sure, but I want to be able to let them play the game and let them find it for themselves. I think that's a super important part of it too, to like let them learn how to navigate the game and figure it out for themselves. Right.
Yeah.
And, you can also, try to motivate them and try to connect with them as best as you can. Yeah.
That's awesome. More of that. We need more of that. Yeah. But like to add on to that transition, whatever. Tell us a little bit about what you do as the assistant coach at GW and what that role looks like.
Yeah,
I think
100%.
probably more people are familiar with the club coach role probably in our realm. So
yeah.
what do you do?
So yeah, I mean, I think my teams have gotten really comfortable, not comfortable. They've gotten used to me being like, sorry, I'm with GW, and they understand it. So I really appreciate them for that. And I appreciate the club for understanding as well. Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes on to, and we all have, a lot of stuff going on during the day, but I think it's, just trying to navigate how to do everything with ASA and GW. So I really appreciate the openness by the club for sure, and all my teams for understanding. But so I mean, my every day is just like, obviously we have training with the group, and that's like 10% of what we do when it comes to assistant coach. I mean, we have meetings, they have meetings, we have meetings with them, we have meetings with athletic department. We're doing things with our athletic department to make sure this is all assistant coaches and head coaches basically. In majority of sports though. You're having meetings, throughout the week. You're with your staff. You're having meetings throughout the week with the athletic department, or every other week or so. So you're doing a lot of that. In the season, super busy time. So you're preparing for games throughout the whole week. So for me, like, I'm looking at film on us, but primarily I'll also look at film on the other team. So I'll do a lot of the scouting reports of who we're playing. I'm like the recruiting coordinator. So I'm also speaking to a lot of individuals and student athletes when it comes to recruiting. I'm trying to figure out schedules. I'm trying to figure out what tournaments I need to go to, who I'm going to speak to, who do I got to get on campus. I'm setting up unofficial visits. I'm setting up official visits. I'm doing a lot of that. And then we have training, and then then my day usually ends with me, finishing training at GW and then going to ASA, for example, for the rest of the night. But throughout the day, it's a lot of preparation in the fall when it comes to preparing for other opponents, preparing your team, trying to make sure that your team is prepared for the next game. And then we have a lot of other things. I mean, and you guys, for sure, being able to play in college sports, there's like the small things of like just like getting the gear out, or like doing the gear, or like doing the laundry, or ordering the gear and making sure the girls' gears are good, or like other assistants will, depending on how your staff's worked out, every staff is a little bit different. Every assistant has like some assistants have like what they need to do. Head coaches do their thing. Depends what the head coach wants. But we all have like a pretty good system of being like, this is doing this by this person. So some people are figuring out meal plans, or not meal plans. Sorry, they're figuring out like pre-game meals, post-game meals, figuring out, how we're getting to the games, who's going to the games, referees, stuff like that. So there's a lot of things that go into it. And it's a lot of like, I don't know if it's micromanagement, but definitely managing pieces that you have to do and making sure that, everything's going smoothly throughout the year.
Yeah. So Chris and I were talking about this, but I think before you hopped on, because we're curious as well. We get asked this a lot, and you, as the recruiting coordinator, are the perfect person to ask. And I think maybe Glenn's even mentioned last week that more important than ever, video is in this moment important, just because it's harder to see kids in person right now because nobody's playing. So what makes a great highlight video? Like is there anything that you see and you're like, turn it off, next one?
I mean, there are times I cannot lie about it. Sometimes you like get some highlights.
But he's not going to. But
I can't lie about it. I try to be an honest person. Yeah, definitely see some highlights, and I'm like, no, I gotta move on. It sounds so bad. I mean, we get a lot of.
That's what Grigor sends over a highlight of himself. I'm sure he's just like,
Yeah. I mean, but to be fair, if someone sends me a highlight, I try to do my job and look at every single one that someone gives me.
Yeah.
And then, off of that, we're going to kind of figure it out. But I mean, the first point, I think right now, in like everything that's going on with COVID and staying home and recruiting and everything, videos are going to be super important for the next, and I hate to say it, probably like 2-3 months. No one really knows where this is going. And people still got to get recruited. So I think videos, full games, highlights are going to be the best way. But for me, a good highlight tape is probably no more than 6 minutes. At most, like longest one is like 8. And I'll say 8, and that's probably because an international kid might be giving you a highlight, because you're not going to see them as much as a local kid or a kid who is, domestic or whatever. So, anywhere from that like 5 to 7 range is probably where you're gonna, get the good spot for a highlight tape and length.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably good music. I know I've definitely heard some music where people put some put like expletives on or like
really.
They don't think about it. They're like, this is a hype song, and there's like, dude, you're like putting or not. Dude,
gotta pay attention to this stuff.
Yeah, like you're like sending this to a college coach, and you like have like expletive like dropping or whatever. You're like, I don't know, but like it's not a kid. I understand. Like I think this song is hype. Just think about like what you're doing too,
right?
But I mean, like just like decent background music. I mean, if we're making a good highlight, I don't think it's a huge thing. I mean, usually to be honest with you, when I watch a highlight, I turn off the music because I just need to watch them play.
Yeah.
I personally am not a fan of slow motion. I really just dislike it. I think I can see what you're about to do. You don't need a slow motion to like show that you're megging someone or like whatever. And that's just me personally. I have other colleagues who kind of go against it as well. But I think the biggest thing is just like it's exactly what it is. It's a highlight tape. Show your highlights. Mm-hmm. I mean, we can tell when it's a good goal. We can tell if you're playing against not so good competition. For example, like if you show a goal where you score and it goes like through the goalkeeper's hands, for example, like I know you scored the goal, but like there's also an error in that part. Like really show the highlights that really demonstrate what makes you that player that would like make us want to recruit you, for example. I think those things are super important. So I think if you can really show those highlights and show the quality of what you can do, I think that'd be great. You don't need to make it too long, but if you can show, if you're a forward, if you can show your goal scoring abilities, your abilities to check in and play in possession or even get in behind, it sounds so simple, but show things that you're positionally supposed to do well. Mm-hmm. If you show those well, we'll recognize that. And I think those are some things that are really important. I mean, it takes time for us to obviously do work and, look at these emails and everything. It also takes time for them to produce it and put it together. And, if we see that you're putting the time in to like produce these, videos and make them good and like show, the work that you put in, it makes us inclined to watch it more. So I think, really trying to clip this out, well. And I think on the highlight tape, things that you need to put are super important. If you can put your name, obviously your club, positionally, what number you are, or when I say position, I mean what position you are, obviously. And it does help when you point out, like in a highlight, if you point out like who you are, where you are, what number you're wearing, what jersey number you're wearing, because it changes. Sometimes you're wearing red, sometimes you're wearing white. You need to point out who you are on the field. This is super important. So things are very important for us. And then also when it comes to things that are important, your grades. If you can put opening slide of like I have a 4.0, I have a 2.0, like I have SAT of this. I haven't taken the SAT yet. All of those things are super important. And also I think it's really important is your grad class as well. So if you're a sophomore and you're sending me a video, okay, I really like you as a sophomore. I can't talk to you yet as a Division school until June 15th. All right. So those are some things that are like really important for your that you can put on a screen as well, or a highlight tape that will make us kind of figure it out. But Katie, I mean, to make a good highlight tape, it sounds so simple, but really just show your highlights. I think show how if you lose a ball, maybe you win it back. Or if you're going to score a great goal, really show those great goals. But just make sure you're not just like I think that kids will understand this, or like you guys would understand this. Like when your teachers would tell you don't fluff a paper with just like random stuff, like don't fluff the video, like just give us your really good highlights and get to it, so we can go from there.
Yeah.
Do you think? I mean, just a follow-up question in terms of the like, are there certain highlight tools that are better than others? So like Huddle, for example, versus like just creating a link that's on YouTube. I think we get a lot of questions from our players, like who may not know how to create a highlight video. I mean, as a coach, do you find that there's certain tools that work better than others?
I mean, look, like Huddle's a great source. They have like the NSCAA or whatever. It's like the National Recruiting Organization. Like they have those as well, where you make a profile and like you can get your videos up. Those are all great tools because you can click a link and you have all of your highlights on one area, right?
Yeah.
But like if you don't want to necessarily spend the money for those recruiting organizations, that's not going to like be a demerit against you, for example, like if you put the time in and you go on iMovie or you downloaded something online, an alternative to iMovie to make your movie and it's a good movie, I'm like, all right, great. This is a great highlight tape. So it doesn't necessarily have to be through Huddle or it doesn't have to be through the recruiting sites or anything like that. Those recruiting sites are helpful for sure. I mean, we'd speak to people on players and they put people on our for us to like recognize as well. But like if you are someone who's emailing me to make yourself to learn about GW or to learn about a school, this goes for anybody, male or female or any school, and you have just a simple YouTube link, awesome. We going on YouTube and making a YouTube profile and this being like, this is my YouTube profile, here are all my highlight videos and here are all my full games. That's just as necessary or just as great as having that Huddle page or something like that. But the good news about Huddle is a little bit, usually it's like you have your coach's information, you have your grades, all that stuff, or like all those recruiting sites. Just it gives you more information about grad class, all of that. But you can do the exact same thing for yourself on a YouTube channel, for example.
What about like Captain U? Just as another example.
Yeah, same thing.
A lot of requests about that. Should I set up an account? Should I?
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking from a youth club perspective, and in talking with you, obviously it doesn't hurt to do that. It sounds like is what I'm hearing, but it's not. It's also not a requirement or necessary to do.
Yeah, I don't. I just think it's. Yeah, I think you just nailed it, Chris. Honestly, I mean, like you can have a Captain U account. I personally don't log on to Captain U or Huddle like to look at stuff like that necessarily. Like maybe I should do it more because there are ways on Captain U, for example, you can be like following a school if you're like registered or whatnot. But a lot of us is like, if it's mostly like if a kid reaches out to us and they give us their Captain U link or they give us a YouTube link, that's how the connection starts. We want them to show their ability to be like, hey, I'm interested in you, right? Okay, here's my highlight tape, or here's a full game footage. Like, check it out. And then it's like, all right, let's go from there then. So yeah, I mean, for sure, those businesses, I'm not to debunk any of it because they're very useful, I think, if you have the resources to do it.
Yeah.
Now, if you have the ability to sign up for Captain, if you have the ability to get a Huddle account, if you have the ability to do all these things and put out good film so it makes it worth your while, then 100% do it if you can. But if you don't have that ability, it's not, it doesn't harm you at all to, send just a YouTube link or even just be like, here's a Google Drive of my video. And it's like, awesome, thanks. Like that's fine.
This is so helpful for us to know. Now we can better answer this question I mean, it is hard. Like there's so many resources. And so just knowing that like whichever way you can show yourself the best and literally send it to a coach, I mean, that's great.
100%. If you, whatever it is.
Make sure that you have the link to this so that when people ask me, I can just send them
just like these like 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Minute straight up highlight video. That's what we've got here.
Yeah, let's just clip that.
I think highlight video is super important, especially right now. And like, for me, I think it's just, we want to see the highlights, we want to see good quality, and we want to be able to see you showcase your best abilities. And however you can do that, do it.
That's what I was.
Question. Sorry, Katie, is this question time? Because I'm gonna go ahead.
That's what I was gonna ask Yeah, I had a question. We probably have about 5-ish minutes, and we did have one of our high school kids ask.
Oh.
I know, time's gone. Not a senior, so still has some time, but definitely would have been attending showcases, right, this spring. And so aside from staying fit, working out during this sort of down period, what, if anything, should like a sophomore or junior right now be focusing on?
I think kids right now, there's like 3 things they need to focus on. They need to keep crushing school, just because like there's a period where like there's like online classes and stuff. Like I don't know how colleges are going to look at this semester.
Interesting.
I don't think it's like, I think it's really important you still do well. I don't know if like the semester is going to be like pass fail. I don't know if it's going to be like it was online or what you're going to get some kind of, whatever effect. But kids still need to do really well in school and focus on that part. It's not just an extended spring break or summer break as much as it might feel like it sometimes.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is like, And the next thing
I'll type that every day.
What's that?
Don't worry about it.
And then I'd also say that like if you are interested in schools, it's super important to stay relevant. So continue to express interest and schools that you're genuinely interested in. And it's a great time to do research. It's a great time to like really find out what you like about the school and take advantage of the time that you do have in terms of that. And the next thing is this. As much as it is like, oh, we just don't want to, do I just work out every day? Yes, you work out every single day, because whenever this lift does happen, we you guys to be, or we need the coaches, club coaches and college coaches, all these coaches need you to be as fit as you can be to be ready to play whenever that might be. Unfortunately, the reality is that may not happen anytime soon, but like if you do have that one opportunity in the summer to make a showcase or make a camp before decisions are made, like you have to be as sharp and as fit as you can be. So take advantage of this time to get one, maybe even 2 workouts a day if you have that time. I mean, I think it wouldn't be hard to say, like, if you do ball skills in the morning or like you want to run at night, like that's a great day. And if you can do that 5 to 6 times a week, you're not killing yourself, but you're getting work in and you're making yourself 1% better every day. So I mean, I think it's super important that you stay fit in these times, stay sharp as you can, work on new skills at this time. It's a great time to do it since you have a lot of time. Those are some things I would for sure say that you need to, continue to keep doing.
That's awesome. School, focus on your research, and stay fit.
Yeah.
All right.
Super hard right now. Just say everyone needs to stay positive.
Yes.
I know there's days like mentally where everyone's like, oh my God, like what is about to happen? Or like, what can I do?
Yeah.
I think super important for everyone to just be as positive as they can right now and figure out how you can just become better every day. I mean, it's so cliche, I feel like, but it's like also super true. Like if you go through about this process in a negative process or a negative way, I guarantee you'll probably see, that affect you in a negative way as well. So you gotta be positive right now in these times, I think.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Are we on time or are we?
Yeah, I was just going to ask a fun one to end, but I think you might have one ready.
Good question. Let's go.
Zach, let me ask you something. And I mean, I'm going out on a limb here, but hopefully it can be answered honestly and help some of our players. But as you know, our club, and you coach with our club, we're not a DA club.
Right.
And we pride ourselves on being, a very
have a clue where this is going.
We have, we feel we have talented players, smart players within the club. Can you get recruited into college without playing at a DA club?
100%. 100%. I mean,
Let me ask that again. Can you get recruited to play in college without playing at a DA club?
100%. I think, 100%, 110%. Our job is to find the best players there are. And if we find players, at different tournaments, they're not all D in the CCL. If they are in a second league in the South or Northeast, wherever it might be, Region 1, whatever it is, USYS, there's so many different leagues, so many different tournaments, there's so many different events out there. And our job is to find kids who can play at our level. And we don't really care if, you're playing whatever league, obviously I think, the ability to go to ECNL and DA events, those are bigger events, right? And you have, a more concentrated group of players, for example. So I would say, a lot of our time might go to those events to go see them. But that's just honesty, right? And, you're going off of that. But like we don't, a team like, we're going to like a Jeff Cup. We still go to Jeff Cup, right? Or we still go to NCFC, or we go, we still go all these big tournaments and showcases, because we got to see all of the teams. We can't just be like, I'm not gonna look at, the Region 1 or like the regular club kids as well versus DA or ECNL. You have to be able to look and try to find the best players that you can. So 100%, you can get recruited, out of any of the teams in this area. The DMV is one of the more populated soccer areas with some other pots across the country. But in the DMV, there's so many teams and so many programs. Yeah, you for sure can get recruited in this area.
That's awesome. Good question, Chris. To finish us off, just because I'm interested and curious, and this maybe this is kind of broad, but tell us about like a really fun soccer memory you have, either from GW perhaps or from your playing days that just
All
like
right.
stands out.
Fun soccer memory. I mean, I think like the high school rivalries were always exciting. I remember a couple times we had like a high school rivalry, and those games were just the high school soccer is just different sometimes, you know. And I think kids, realize that there's just so much when it comes to like pride playing for your school and that. I mean,
actually, sorry, I'm gonna cut you off for the last question. That's a really good point because I have seen you at a high school soccer game. As a college coach, what are your thoughts on high school soccer?
If you got to see a kid, you got to see a kid. I mean, sometimes
love it.
Sometimes high school games, I think in this area again, there's some very good players, and I think in high school, like there might be like you can see on every team. Each team's got like 5 to 6 like quality club players from this area, for example, and they might be playing in ECNL, they might be playing in a regular club, they might be playing in DA, but like it. And then like obviously there's like a handful of kids who just play lacrosse or baseball or like play softball, and like soccer's their fall sport, whatever, or spring sport. But like if I had to go to a high school game to check out a high school game, I have no reason to do. I mean, I have no issues with doing that. I will sit in the bleachers like everyone else, and I'll watch that game and recruit. So I have no issues with a high school game. I think what you're expecting it sometimes, but no, I enjoy. I personally love going to high school games because I love I kind of like again like that atmosphere, especially in a big high school game. You got the parents, you got other kids, you got everyone screaming, and everyone's playing with energy. And it's a good time to kind of see like a kid maybe outside of like that club area, being able to kind of express themselves in a different manner, especially if they're like the top dog or like the top player on that high school, being able to kind of see them take over or whatever. So yeah, no, I'll go to a high school game for sure.
Speaking of top dogs on high school teams, you see that picture right over my shoulder here.
There you are.
That's George Truly scoring in the state championship final, the game winner.
What?
There you go.
I still hold a grudge, Katie. I still hold a grudge because they gave the player of the game to somebody else.
What?
I mean, what?
What are you talking about?
Dwayne Jones got player of the game.
Oh,
why?
Come on, Dwayne. I hope you're listening to this, man. You know that's my award right there.
That's so funny. Yeah, you deserved it. You deserved it. Right.
Oh man.
Yeah, Katie, high school. I mean, playing memories. The high school game rivalries were always a huge one for me. In college, like we beat at the time Coastal Carolina for us was in our conference, and they were top 10 in the country. And we beat them twice in my 4 years, which is super exciting. And then this last year, honestly, at GW, we had a historic run. I had a ton of fun this year. It was one of my biggest memories so far of my, coaching and playing experience of being able to, go to a final, even though we didn't win. But it was one of the most enjoyable years I've had in a really long time. So awesome. Those are for sure some memories I have. And then I've really enjoyed it. And then, again, shout out to my 06 team. This year was our ASA tournament was super fun.
Yeah.
They won in PKs, they won the final, and like just seeing like that excitement out of the girls, like that was awesome.
Can I just go ahead and say that was my ASA team last year, so this is a real joint situation.
I give you all the credit, all right? I'll take zero credit. I give you all the credit.
Can't we all just get a little credit? I'm just looking for a little something.
Credit.
I will say it right here. Shout out to Katie. She set the foundation for that group. She set the foundation. I'm just going off what she built originally with them, Now
when Grigor's got a team before you, you got to put all this work in to get them, where they need to be.
Nah, shout out to Katie. Katie, she set the foundation for those kids, and I just got to be able to work with them, so it's fun. Really fun.
All right, we are out of time, folks.
Right now. You better.
Oh man, I was actually ready for like a longer time, but I appreciate you guys having me on. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for coming. This was great. Some really, really good stuff. I'm going to clip some things for sure and share. Happy isolation.
All right, you guys too. Appreciate it. Thanks again.
Chris, you want to take us out?
Yeah, we'll that was for you. Just let everybody needs this right now.
Best song out.
No, you need it out there. Let it hit you for a second.
Let Julie from India. Yes.
All right.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.